Hi everyone. Today we're going to show you an updated demo of Google Workspace Studio. I'm going to briefly introduce you what Google Workspace Studio is. This platform is an online no-code automation platform that allows you to create flows to handle routine tasks across Google services or Google's ecosystem. It's referring to the workspace ecosystem like Gmail, Google Drive, Google Sheets, and also Google Chat as well. Essentially, it is the modern AI powered successor to traditional workflow automations using Gemini to make the process more intuitive and flexible. So, in a nutshell, this platform is not just about workflow automation. You can also build an AI agent to it because it's powered by Gemini, which is a large language model. So some of its key features are in AI integration. As I've mentioned earlier, you can use Gemini directly within a flow to summarize documents, draft replies, or analyze data without writing a single line of code. You can also build AI agents for more complex needs. So, for example, it allows you to build custom AI agents that can reason through problems and adapt to information rather than just following rigid if or then rules. It also has pre-built templates. It offers a library of templates to help you get started quickly with common tasks and like form responses management or even meeting preparation. I'm going to show you this is actually the templates that you can see right now. So depending on your preference or your needs, so for example, if you have a specific idea that maybe is already existing on the template, you can already use that existing template. I can actually show you, let's say, for example, you wanted to notify, you want, let's say, notify me about emails from key people. Let's say you wanted to use this template that you wanted to get notifications from key stakeholders. So let's say when you use this template, the first thing that you will see there is specific emails. So you have the option to either receive all emails or specific emails. Since the goal is for you to get notified on specific key people, let's say specific key stakeholders. So all you have to do is to make sure to include those specific emails. For example, let's say tonyfowler@gmail.com, and then also make sure that to add like a specific keyword, like say for example there's you usually receive like a certain like weekly reporting, like for example for a monthly business review or a weekly business review. So you just have to indicate those keywords, and then also you can also indicate what doesn't have, and then you just have to keep in mind that this limits the emails with the specified words or phrases. Attachments aren't searched, or which means attachments are not considered. And then you will see two, which is the default email because my Workspace Studio is defaulted to this email. And then you have the ability to check this, which means has your email address in CC or BCC. And then you can also add specific labels. Let's say, for example, you've actually labeled those. Let's say, for example, you usually receive a specific weekly business review meeting or monthly business review meeting, and you marked it as important. And then all you have to do is to select important. And then you can also include the subject has filter by size. Let's say, for example, if there's an attachment, if you wanted to limit, let's say, to only a 5 MB, all you have to do is to choose less than 5 MB. So anything more than 5 MB, it will not push through. And then there's an option for you to allow this flow to start from emails by flows. And then next is the summarize. So this is where you actually um, draft the summary or the instruction. And then also you will notice variables. So variables, let me just show you what it is. If you click this from the top, so what it means is that variables are dynamic placeholders that lets users use information from earlier parts of your workflow. So this lets you create customized and flexible automations. Let's say, for example, a variable that can take a new Google form response and insert it into Google Chat or Message. Or you can use the text summary summarized by Gemini to create a new Google Doc. Also, you have to keep in mind that when you add variables to third-party integration steps or add-on steps, they might contain your Google account data, such as the contents of the message in Gmail or chat, or even information from calendar. The flow can then share your Google account data with a third-party service, but you just have to make sure you trust the third-party service as well. And also, you'll notice this Google Workspace support. Let's say, for example, if you wanted to, let's say, learn more about the um,
In this video,
quick
you're going to learn
automations, you
how to
can
use
just click
variables
this.
when creating workflows in Google.
So all you have to do is you can just like click this, but keep in mind that sometimes their content is doesn't automatically update it. So it's really important for us to explore the workflow. That's why I'm showing you this updated view. Now, if you noticed, this template already has like a predefined template as well. So it's your option if you wanted to change it. And then what happens is the next flow is the recipient, which is you, gets notified through Google Chat. So if you're not familiar with Google Chat is like Microsoft Teams or Slack. So it's actually considered as like a business communication tool. So this is what Google Chat looks like. Okay, so um, let me just mark this as red. Okay, and then this is what you will see. This is the Google Chat message, so users can send you messages within your workspace, or if you have like a group chat or a thread. So that's basically what it looks like. So this is the sample of the flow. Now, what if you we go back to the Workspace Studio, what you will notice here is this is the chat box. Similar to Gemini, you can actually provide a prompt instruction to Gemini and ask what you wanted to do. Now, I do have a pre-built sample instruction here for demo purposes. Let's say let you say you want Google Workspace Studio specifically with Gemini to create a workflow that checks my Google Calendar for any upcoming meetings. If a meeting is scheduled to start within the next 10 minutes, send me a notification in Google Chat. Include the meeting title, time, and attendees. Clearly label it as a reminder. Only trigger it when there is an actual upcoming meeting within that 10-minute window. All you have to do is to press create. As we speak, it's showing us already. It's showing us that it's already creating a workflow. Okay, so it created a workflow. All you have to do is to modify or configure uh, whichever is your preference, like the time or the minutes, and then it should actually notify you through Google Chat. Now, here's the thing. When you describe something that you want Google Workspace Studio to create, it doesn't mean that it will provide you the 100% configuration. Now, this is where the human comes in. So, with our critical thinking, with our decision-making skills, this is where our skills comes in. So, it's up to us how we wanted to actually um, design the automations. It's just that AI is there to help us make our jobs or make our lives more easier. Now, as we go back here, so this is basically what you will see on the homepage. So there's also video tutorials, Discord channel, documentation, develop on Google Workspace Studio, connect to third-party apps and services. So these are just basically technical documentation. Let's say if you are a developer. So basically, we're not going to deep dive into this because we have a very limited time. But I'm just showing to you some additional resources. So, for example, if you already had, let's say, understand the core principles and also the foundations on how to build automation workflows, build AI agents using Google Workspace Studio, then that's the time that you can deep dive into integrating other third-party applications. So let's go to my flows. This is what happens. This is what you see. So anything that you build, let's say, for example, your drafts or active flows, this is what you will see here. So I've recently built my most recent automations like a few weeks back. So like like what I always mention to users is that every platform, especially those platforms coming from Google, from Claude, or even OpenAI, basically those features gets updated over time. Sometimes it gets updated after a month and then after 2 months. So basically, it's really, really fast. So you just have to be mindful and also check every settings to make sure that your workflows are working as expected. So if there's a need for you to modify it because there's a change in the settings or in the UI, then I would suggest for you to retest it. Okay, so I built this example workflow. So what I did was I built this as an AI talent acquisition agent, an AI powered virtual assistant. So my goal here is the first thing is when I get an email from a candidate which has an attached resume on it. So the first goal is um, I do get that email for using Gmail, which is this one. So I chose all emails. Why? Because the purpose of this is for to ensure that I have an agent or a workflow that would screen a candidate's resume. So the next flow is the Google Drive settings. So what happens is every attachment attached to that email gets uploaded into a Google Drive. And then next is my third flow, which is Gemini. So I provided this instruction saying here that you are an AI talent acquisition agent expert operating inside Google Workspace Studio. Your task is to process an incoming job application email and its attachments. Follow all steps exactly. It says here step one, check for resume, making sure you might be wondering what this is. This is called a variable. So a variable, going back to the variable again. So again, this is a dynamic placeholder that lets you use information from earlier parts of your flow. So if we go back, so this is the variable. This is where it is located. And also what you will see at the bottom here is you can choose which sources Gemini can use, either a specific source or all sources. So for example, if you want it's a specific source, you can choose this one. Let's say you can upload a specific source or a knowledge using Google Drive, or if you want all sources. So what it means at all sources, which means that there is a grounding, let's say web search, a workspace. So please keep in mind that Gemini can access workspace content you can access as well. So, and then next is the step four, which is the add row, add a row. What happens is every time the user, or let's say the workflow, receives an email, Gemini analyzes those information. So based on it is what happens is it actually inputs the data automatically to a link Google Sheet. So you have to make sure that you have an existing Google Sheets link to the workflow, which is this is an example. So what you might be wondering why um, this data was structured as it is. It's because of this instruction. Again, the way you structured your Google Sheets file automation depends on how you actually configured it inside the Google Workspace Studio. So it would be best for you to test, restructure, reiterate it until you find what you actually need, or if you think that you're satisfied with that specific automation flow. So it's up to you. Now, what I did was on the add to row, so I did make sure that this specific Google Sheets has been linked to this flow. And then sheet one, I configured this, and then after the last data row. And then for the timestamp, you have the option to, let's say, email date and time, which is this one. And then for variables, it's optional. You can also click show more. So what I did is for the decision pass or fail, I added this step three, which is Gemini. Because as we speak, if we go back to the instruction here, so there's an instruction here that step two, that Gemini needs to analyze the data from the resume. And then also there's also a feedback loop, which means decision must be either pass or fail. And then provide a concise justification summarizing how well the applicant fit with the role. And then which is step 5, structured output for sheets add a row. And then after this workflow, I've added the decide step. So this is what it looks like. So this is the decision at the middle, and then there is a true on the left and then false on the right. So just for a visual representation. So the decision true is I added this one. So if we go back first to the decision, you have to make sure that um, what I did was I put in this instruction and also used this variable, which is from step 3. So again, you can actually check into these variables. So this is how I got this one. So just remember, be mindful of the instruction that you placed here, because the instruction that you place here, this is basically what it will be generated. And the next is I added this decision true. So what happens was this node or this workflow, what it will do is if the decision is true that the candidate has met the requirements or exceeded, it will actually draft an email. Okay, just a disclaimer that this workflow will not automatically send an email, because at the moment, the workflow that I chose is to draft an email. Later, I will show you what happens. In addition to that, for the name, I chose a variable coming from the add a row, which is the full name. And then it's up to you if you wanted to add another add sub step here, but with my case, I did not added it. Next is I added another decision tree, which is false. So similar, uh, if the decision, let's say for example, pass is false, what happens is it will draft an email saying that the candidate that we will not be moving forward with the candidate's application at the moment. So going back to these two nodes or these two workflows, so you have to make sure that you have to add the appropriate variable. So what I did was I added sender email address, because I need to make sure that I have the right recipient address. So where did the sender email address came from, which is step 1. Next is ask Gemini. So I added another, let me just remove this. Okay. So I added another workflow to this. So what will happen is it will say craft a Google Chat message with step 5 decision. And then if passed through, craft a Google Chat message which includes the email. So where did I get this again? I got this in the variables. So where did I get it? On the add a row. So like for example, I had to add the full name, the email, and then also the decision, pass or fail. So where do I get that? So this is where you get it, the decision, pass or fail, and the feedback. So you have to make sure that you're mindful with the rows and the columns, because it's also basically aligned depending on the variable that you have chosen. So you can obviously see here that decision, pass or fail, where did it came from again? So it came here from this row. Okay, so going back here, what will happen next is it will send um, a message using Google Chat. So I added a variable based on this instruction, which is step 10. So I didn't write anything here because step 10 already has the context that I need to have. So what we can do is we can do a test message. So I'm going to try to send an email here. Okay, so actually already have the draft prepared. And then the subject line, Tony, sorry, Tony Mami Oni Fowler. Oops, sorry, it's wrong spelling. And then I have to make sure to add an attachment. So I have added the sample resume here, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to send this attachment to the email that is registered to my existing Google Workspace, which is this one. Then I'm going to click send. So let me just try to refresh this. Okay, so next is let's make sure and double check that it sends an email. Okay, so I did get the email. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to check the draft. Okay, so let me just try to see and refresh if it generates a draft. Okay, supposedly it will generate a draft, but it depends on the time. What we can do is we can check the Google Sheets where we connected the automations workflow. Okay, so as we speak, it's 9:50 p.m. It says here April 21st, 9:50. So it did register or it did recorded the automation flow. So which means that the data has been recorded based on what how the agent should respond or how the agent should um, basically work or as expected. Then we can check here. There is a message that was triggered on Google Sheets. Say, I'm sorry, on Google Chat. It's saying here, updates candidate passed initial interview, and then candidate Tony Mami Oni Fowler, and then pass. And then giving us the email, like the portfolio. It says here suspicious link removed. And then feedback summary. The candidate has exceptional fit, demonstrating expert level proficiency in AI workflow automations, prompt engineering core tools. So it's giving you all the necessary context on what a key decision maker needs to know, especially on in the context of a hiring manager. Now, for the draft, sometimes it takes like minutes. Like right now, as we can see, the draft just um, appeared. So as I've mentioned earlier, it will not automatically send the email to the candidate because the step is draft an email. So what we're going to do is since we're just done in showing you this example workflow, I'm going to show you what the triggers or the nodes or um, the workflows look like. So if you wanted to, let's say, create a workflow from scratch, you can actually press this one, or let's say, let's go back to home first, so we have a better idea, or we can visually see what I'm talking about. So all you need to do is click this plus button. There's a new flow here, and then for starter, this is basically the start of the automation flow, which means that what should trigger the workflow. Okay, for so depending on what your goal is, so these are all the options that you can see when you choose a starter trigger. So for example, on a schedule, when you get an email, when someone joins a space basically on Google Chat, it's like a Slack channel or a group chat on Microsoft Teams. And then when I get a chat message, when I'm mentioned, when an email reaction is added, when a sheet changes, when an item is added to a folder, when a file is edited, when an item in the folder is edited based on a meeting, when a meeting transcript is ready, or when a form response comes in. And then for the actions, this is exactly what you will see. Okay, so you will primarily see Gemini and then also AI as the AI action, and then you can also see recap unread emails, extract, decide, summarize. You can also see the tools like the check if, and then like for example, if it's true or false, and or So these are all the common steps that you will see. For Gmail, this is exactly what you will see, like draft an email, draft a reply, add labels, and then for chat, notify me in chat, and then sheets, add a row, update a row, clear a row, get a sheet contents, and then add email attachment to drive, create a folder, create a doc, add a doc, or create a task. These are basically some of the things that you will see. Okay, so just to make sure, you have to make sure that you have access to Google Workspace and your administrator has enabled this add-on feature into your workspace, or whether you're using a business or an enterprise, so that you can access studio.workspace.google.com. Okay, so um, if you, let's say for example, if you wanted more contents coming from us, or let's say if you wanted to schedule like a consulting or an AI fluency workshop for us, or if you want help in building like a certain AI agent or workflow automations, or if you want us to like build a web app for you, so you can actually reach out to us through our website, which is sorry, let me just, I think I got the wrong email. Okay, there you go. So you can actually send us a message on docipherlabs.com. So you can click get started. All you have to do is fill out your details here, and then you can also reach out to us and follow us on our Facebook page, which is docipherlabs.com. So you can message us, and then also you can follow so that we can provide you more valuable contents. You can also follow us on our YouTube channel, which is Decipher Labs. All you have to do is to type this, and our YouTube channel will show up. Make sure to subscribe and hit the icon so that you could get notified of our latest contents. And you can also um, follow us on LinkedIn at the same time, where we can also provide you the latest updates of what's happening in the AI space as well. So we'll see you on the next demo, and that's all. Thank you so much and appreciate your time.